Hello everyone, good evening guys. We'll start the orientation now. It's EDITA Unmanned Aerial Systems, so let's start. I'll call upon Nitashri, our team captain, to speak about it.
Hi guys, seems like you're all very tired. So how's the video? Did you guys like it?
Yes.
A bit of sound is encouraged. How was the video?
Good.
It just gives a gist of what we do in EDITA. So you'll get the full idea when you join the team. You'll get half of it when you listen to the orientation. So let's start.
Next slide. Yeah, so welcome to our orientation. We are EDITA Unmanned Aerial Systems. So who are we? So what do we do? So we are made up of multidisciplinary fields. So it might be mechanical, electrical, electronics, computer science, you name it, we'll be it, right? So what do we do though? So we manufacture unmanned aerial systems capable of autonomous flight, waypoint navigation, image processing, mapping, payload drop, and so on and so on. Next slide. Yeah, so let me take you to the birth of EDITA. So EDITA was born in 2011. Yeah, so it's been 10 years since EDITA was born.
It's an old team. It's the 10th anniversary we are having in EDITA.
Yes. So EDITA is the oldest team to ever exist in RIT today. And SUAS is our competition. In SUAS 2011, it was our first time to participate in the competition, right? But yet, we won the 3rd place for autonomous flight and the 5th place for the technical journey. Again, point to be noted, it was our first time to ever participate in the competition. Now, let me take you through our journey. So, in the year 2012, we entitled ourselves with the Never Die Award. So, what happened was, during the competition, there was a small radio interference with a nearby Police broadcasting station, and we had a crash, and our UAS jammed, and yeah, it was an obstacle. But then, in 2014, we started with the Tawon project. So what we did was, we started with the hybrid composite manufacturing for the very first time in EDITA, and in the year 2015, as you can see, we won the competition. And we were the first Asian team to ever win the competition. And do you know how many competitors we had? We had around 70 teams from all over the world and from prestigious institutions like Cornell and then University of Illinois and so on and so on. But still we won the first place.
The best part of it was the money.
Yeah, exactly.
It was around 15,000 US dollars at that time.
Which is around 8 lakhs, right? Yeah, and again in 2016 we started with the ISO project and we won 5th place internationally and 1st place in Asia. And again in the year 2018 we started with the Clean State project. Although EDITA was just a 4-member team then, we still won the 2nd place in Asia.
So this is what the competition and what is the rest of the competition. So we'll tell about the competition.
Yeah, so I've been speaking about the competition since a while. So it's called SUAS, which abbreviates to Student Unmanned Aerial Systems, organized by an organization called AUVSI. So it was born in 2002, and the goal of the competition was to foster interest about UAVs in young minds. And the competition is open to high schoolers, undergraduates, graduates. So yeah, our competitors are from all over the world and they are graduates as well. And so what exactly do we do in the competition? The plan is to design, manufacture and demonstrate a UAV, which is an unmanned aerial vehicle capable of the following tasks, as you can see: autonomous flight, waypoint navigation, image processing, mapping, payload drop, and so on. And where is the competition held? It is held in US, United States of America, in Maryland, at the Naval Air Station. So yeah, and these are our general tasks. Previous slide, please. Yeah. So these are the general tasks of the competition. Starting with autonomous navigation, as the name suggests, a flight is supposed to autonomously navigate. And after that, we have airdrop, where there is a UGV inside. Okay, UGV being the unmanned ground vehicle. This vehicle is inside our plane, and the plane drops the ground vehicle, and it comes to the ground. And from the ground, it is supposed to autonomously navigate to another point, right? And after that, we have obstacle avoidance. So as the name suggests, it's just avoiding an obstacle. But then the obstacle can be stationary or it can be dynamic, which means the obstacle can be moving as well, and we are supposed to avoid them. And then we have image processing, where there are characters and symbols on the ground, and our plane is supposed to be it's supposed to recognize what's happening on the ground. And after that, we have search and rescue and interoperability system, which will be covered in the later slides.
Though it sounds simple, it's not that simple.
So, coming to evolution of the competition started out with basic navigation, and after that, it evolved into autonomous takeoff, and after the flight, autonomous landing. Just give me a minute.
So these are the competition tasks which gradually they increase the tasks and then difficulty of the task getting increased by the way. So basic navigation is just your RC plane taking off and then taking it down, landing. And then at the second time they added auto takeoff and auto landing, which is automatic as the name says. And then obstacle avoidance was added, though it was just static obstacle avoidance in the sense the obstacle will be static, your plane will be overcoming those obstacles. Nowadays it's more static and then also dynamic. After that, simulated remote information center was added, and then after that we have interoperability. So interoperability is something that the competition is going to have servers, their own servers, where you have to send your information like data in the sense photos, all the results, how your plane is doing. You have to send that to the interoperable servers. And then after that, this year, the last year, they added another task which is pretty much difficult, comparing the design parameters, comparing how we have to add in electronics to the UGV in the sense unmanned ground vehicle. So we have all these tasks. So as you can relate to, we need all the branches like electronics, mechanical, electronics in the sense all the circuit branches, all the mechanical branches, and we need CS, IS guys also. So she can take over now.
Thank you, Anna, for filling for me. So, yeah, sub-teams. So, what are the sub-teams in our team? As you can see, we have airframe, navigation, IT, piloting, business development. So, yeah, it is a multidisciplinary team. We need all the branches and we need all knowledge from all technical branches. And now my friend Deepak will be taking over for airframe.
Just for you guys to know, he is the most active member in the team.
Hi everyone, I'm Deepak from Editha. I'm a drone pilot at Editha. So the airframe team is about designing and developing your unmanned aerial systems. So your designing starts with what your UAS has to do in the competition. Okay, so first you pen down your design conditions, that is how much weight it has to carry, what's the payload, and based on payload you select your airfoils, and after you select your technical parameters, you're going to simulate it on simulation software. There is in our case it's XFLR, it's a MIT licensed software. So the software basically gives you the locations of your CG, your CP, and it helps you simulate the the fluid simulations and so on. So after you design it in XFLR, you then move it to a professional design software such as Fusion 360 or SolidWorks, something like that, and then you actually design it. So after that step, you run your simulation. That is dynamic simulation. What that means is you're going to put it in a real world kind of situation, but inside the software. So your wings will be hitting the plane that is in the software itself, and you're going to see that is, if the plane is stable enough to be actually manufactured. So once a recursive number of simulations have taken place, then you actually design your plane. So this is the whole journey of how your air task comes into existence. Wait, you guys have questions about this?
We have questions about the orientation. So he's gonna ask a question. If you're gonna answer it right, you're gonna get some stickers.
So this diagram you see, it's a model of an aircraft. Okay, so that circle thing, it shows an airfoil. Okay, it's a 2D session of your wing. You're able to figure it out, right? It's a 2D session, and this is the fluid flow around that airfoil. Okay, so the question is, what law would govern the physics behind a stable plane in air? Yes. Bernoulli's and wrong.
Yeah? Newton, what Newton?
Wrong.
Who said that? You? Okay.
Oh, good job, guys.
Guys, give them stickers. And one more thing, it's not just the Newton's third law, there's another law behind it,
Yes.
which gives the aeroplane the lift. He's gonna explain it.
Okay, it's called as Konda effect. Have you guys heard of Konda effect? Okay. So what Konda effect explains is the trailing edge of your airfoil has to point downwards. Okay. Only if it's downwards, the wind is gonna push the plane upwards. It's a theory. I mean, it came into existence to explain what Newton's third law could not explain. That is how people figured out. Anyway, good job, you both.
Though it's a bit tough technical, you have to bear with it because you're gonna have it once you come into the team. It's gonna be more technical. I'm the navigation team lead. I was the navigation team lead. I'm going to talk about the navigation. So you've heard a lot of navigation and stuff. So it's going to be autonomous. Autonomous in the sense there's no intervention of the human actions on the plane, so that it's going to do its mission autonomously. I'll just read this out. The navigation sub-team configures the autopilot and tunes it suitably, perform various mission requirements as well as collects flight data to continually improve aircraft performance. They collaborate with the mechanical sub-team in considering auxiliary hardware and with the software and the data processing sub-team in assisting the communication of UAVs from the ground control station. I know we didn't get a lot of points from this, I'm going to explain a lot. So, any of you guys can say what this is? Okay. Go ahead. What is this? Can you explain it a bit? Okay. Okay, it's basically gonna follow the mission or the waypoints as you said. The numbered things are waypoints. So we just plan with something called as mission planner. So if you're in the navigation team, pretty much all the time you're gonna deal with this software called mission planner. I'm gonna show it up to you. Just give me the sticker. One more.
I guess he'll be taking over all our speakers.
Guys, you have to be attentive and then I should tell you. So this is what's called as mission planner. So this is the software which we use all the time. You can plan and simulate all the stuff which you name, all the vehicles which you can get. There's a rover out there, there's a plane you can simulate. They can set up, configure and tune the parameters, how you want the plane to perform. And there are a lot of quadcopters, hexacopters, all the types of the quadcopters, H type, X type, all the frames you can get, you can simulate everything. You can set up, you can configure it, and you can tune everything in the software. So pretty much we're going to be using this software only all the time. I know it's boring, a lot of technical stuff. So in order to do that, we need a lot of onboard electronics components as such. Anyone gonna name some two of the components which are there on the screen? Okay, he's knowledgeable. What's your name, by the way? Siddhant. Okay.
Okay, we have some answers in the
Anyone
beginning.
other than Siddhant want to answer it? Just give the mic.
Raspberry Pi.
What?
Raspberry Pi.
Raspberry Pi is not there in the.
Arduino.
No, it's not there.
Okay, there's another one there.
Pixhawk flight controller.
Okay, yeah, you're good. The one which you see in the middle, is Pixar Flight Controller. It's the main heart of the autonomous navigation system, or you can call all the onboard electronics. It's the main heart of the system. So it's going to control all the sensors. It's going to collect all the data from the sensors, and then it's going to head the plane in the direction which we want, so that we can continue with the autonomous navigation stuff. So as you can see, as he said, that's your the black white things, the black round things are your GPS modules. You need that for autonomous navigation. And then this is the Pixar flight controller, which is connected to a battery. And then there are a lot of telemetry stuff and radio link stuff going to the Pixar. And these are the motors which are there. This is the EACs, the power distribution boards. And then you have a camera out there. We need it for IT sub team. We're going to do a lot of image processing and such. And then we have pretty much every sensor. There are a lot of sensors which are not listed here. We use LiDARs, we use airspeed sensors for the sensory stuff which needed. So I'll just go to the next slide. Obstacle avoidance is also a task which has a pretty much most of the importance in the competition. So the obstacle avoidance, it's not just the navigational team which works on it. We have to work with IT team. Obstacle avoidance can be two types. I just said it, the two types. Can anyone mention them? Okay, give them the six. So it can be static or it can be either dynamic. So in the competition, the dynamic is in the sense when you're taking off, the two teams are going to take off at the same time. So once you're all airborne, you can have another team intervening with your path. So it's called dynamic obstacle avoidance, and then we have static obstacle avoidance. This slide is gonna show you the static obstacle avoidance. The yellow thing which you can see is the path which is pre-planned, not considering the obstacle which are marked in a purple circle. So those are the obstacles. Obstacles aren't going to be present in there. So it's just simulated once. So if you not consider the obstacles, the path is going to be like that. So you're going to crash your plane to the obstacles. So if you involve the IT guys and you figure out the algorithms for obstacle avoidance, you're going to get some waypoints which you put it in the mission planner. You're going to get a path like this. See that? So you're actually maneuvering through the obstacles. You're going to have some more waypoints, but that's not the issue. So the main part is to avoid the obstacles. This is the obstacle avoidance. So I'll call on Anubhav to speak about IT team.
Hey
How many
guys.
CS and IS here? Raise your hands. Okay, how many circuit branches? Okay, that's good. I'm from an EC. Okay. How many mechanical IM other branches stuff? Okay, good. The team is under mechanical engineering department. You can go ahead.
Okay, hi guys. I'm Anubhav and I'm the IT team lead. And I'm going to go over a couple of IT tasks that we do here at Edita. So, starting off, firstly we have ODNC. So, ODNC involves scanning a region for multiple targets. They can be either like the first image that you see, it can be a shape with an alphanumeric on it, or it can be like a person of interest, like the second image. So we scan the entire region and try and identify and classify these objects. So all of this happens while the drone's in the sky, and this is at like 120 meters altitude. So just to show you how difficult this actually is, we have a couple of examples.
Okay, we have a question here also. Find the target. A lot of guys has myopia, heteromyopia here. Okay. Yuma. Yeah, that. Okay, the yellow thing. Okay, triangle.
Yeah.
One more. There's one more parameter inside it.
The big cross.
What? No, the big cross is not the target.
The runway.
It's this.
See, it's hard to just figure out when it's on a slide. Think of it, you're in a moving plane, you're having the camera, and you need to figure out all the parameters which I'm going to show next. So these are the parameters which you have to figure out. Yeah.
So yeah, these are the important characteristics that we have to do autonomously. So next we have another example. Can you guys?
This is hard.
Yeah, this one.
Even I don't know where it is.
S in
These guys are good.
Okay, you guys are good. You should join the IT team. Oh, this is nice. So you need to give the character color, the shape which is the character is embedded into, and then the orientation of that shape, and then you have to give the particular GPS location where the target is located. So it's going to be pretty hard.
Okay, yeah. So next we have drone mapping, where we cover an entire area. We take multiple images, sometimes up to many thousands of images, and we have to stitch all of these images together to make like a single image that doesn't have any creases or any seams, no distortion, none of that. And the standard for this is like how you guys see Google Maps images, like the satellite view. That's basically what we're aiming for. And we perform all the stitching during the competition, like in real time. There's no post-processing, none of that. It all happens in real time. So those are some examples of images, stitched images. Next we have obstacle avoidance, which Vinayak covered. Basically there's static and dynamic. And static obstacle avoidance, you know where the obstacle is, so you can, it's a little easier. But with dynamic obstacle avoidance, you need to first identify the obstacle, and then you have to figure out its trajectory, and then only then can you actually avoid it. So it becomes a little more complicated. Next we have data communication. So data communication, there's two main links that the IT team handles. There's a link between the UAV and the ground control. We use this to transfer images and other coordinates, things like that. Also, in case the nav link goes down, we use this as a backup link. And then there's a second link that we use to talk to the contest server. So all the information like the coordinates, the mission details, everything comes from the judges server. And also we upload all of our results to the judges server. So that's the second link. And that's pretty much it for IT.
Yeah.
Next, I'll hand it to Deepak for...
So he's going to talk about business development in the team. By the way, he's our senior. He's working in Trading Slab. So if you know what the company is, it's a bigger company with a recently they did vaccine delivery in Arunachal Pradesh and northeastern states. So you can, it's for the government. Yeah, we are speaking about the guy who is inspecting.
The business development team is responsible for handling the conversation with the sponsors, and well, being in this team involves writing a lot of mails and getting screwed up a lot actually, because you don't always get positive replies about it. And yes, they handle the crowdfunding in the team's name as well. And yeah, you learn about various financial aspects, and you learn how to write mails and talk to various CEOs and CXOs. Yeah, and we move to the next slide.
Okay, that is Deepak, and other is our senior. They're flying.
So the pilot's job is to learn flying and to tune the aircraft for auto flight. Okay, so tuning means you have to tell your flight controller that what are the maximum limits it can be at. Okay, so to do that, you need a pilot to perform extreme maneuvers on your plane, and after that you can run the auto flight, the software he showed. Then you use that. Okay, and personally speaking, piloting is the best thing I've done. I've clocked 8 flight hours until now being in the team in a lot of various fixed wing platforms, and it's actually worth it. Like, this is the best thing ever.
See, you get everything, you have all this stuff, you have the plane, you have the electronics ready. If you don't have the pilot, you can't fly it. And if the pilot is not experienced enough, you're gonna have crashes. So crashes in the sense it's not failures, as in we're gonna learn a lot about why the plane crashed, why it happened, the reasons behind it, and we'll fix the reasons for it, and then we're gonna fly more properly in successful flights.
Yeah, next slide.
Uh,
Okay, so
just one question. Anyone who has experience in flying drones, quad, or any airplanes?
how many
How
fixed wing drones?
Can you just stand up?
What do you guys fly? Quadcopter. You?
Helicopter and drone.
Okay.
Quadcopter.
Okay. You?
These are drones. Okay, they are pretty much stable. Both of them, they are drones.
Okay. Do you guys fly fixed wings? A plane, a scaled plane? No one? What power? Engine power then?
Okay, got it. The fun flying things.
Yeah. I'd got a chance to fly a fixed wing drone like when I was little in that IIC open day.
Yeah.
Yeah, in that airstrip I've tried once.
Okay. Flying plane, though I have not flown it, I just tried it sometimes. It's not as easy as the drone goes. Even I do fly drones. It's very hard. It's very hard compared to drones. He'll tell you about it when you join the team. You'll know.
Yeah, let's keep it for when you join it. This is too much. Okay.
Well, this is the true part actually. This is where you can make money from if you are in the team. Okay. So, from 2021 to 2026, the market size is going to go up from 14 billion to 41. That's a big jump, by the way. Okay. So to fill in that gap, you need skilled drone engineers who have been into this field even as students or as someone as a researcher or someone. Okay, so yeah, and well, it started from COVID pandemic actually pushed the boundaries to drone deliveries specifically. So companies like Amazon and Google, they ran their pilot projects to check the idea of hyperlocal delivery using drones. There is you deliver in like 10 or 15 minutes. That is the whole idea of hyperlocal delivery. And coming to usages, so first one being inspection. For example, it can be inspecting a gas pipeline plant. So you would want to inspect it for various cracks or damages in your piping system. Okay. And surveying and mapping is a very classic example. It's something even we do. And the team has actually done mapping of 8,500 acres of land here outside Karnataka. And trust me, it's a big number. It took 1 month to complete that 8,000 acre land. It's a village outside outside Bangalore. First responders, so in disaster management let's say in fire extinguishing services, this is where first responder drones can be used with the first responders. And in defenses, yes, border patrolling is a very classic example, and you can use it to neutralize your enemies as well. Like shove a gun in a drone. And deliveries, yes, this is where most investors pump money into. Okay, this is the biggest sector as of now. Seeing the future in the next 10 years, when the value, the amount you need to put per delivering a good will increase because the value of your human labor is going to go up. So you would want to shift to drones. Okay, something automated. That's the point. Okay.
Believe it or not, there are a lot of startups which are working on the commercial delivery system for the drones. And if you have idea in building the drones and if you have idea in flying the drones, you're gonna get placed easily.
Yeah, there are companies recruiting our colleges as well who look for drone engineers, by the way. Next slide. Nitasha is going to hand over.
So these are some additional ventures which Aditha usually does. So she's gonna talk about it.
Yeah. So we are also focusing on aerial photography. So, as the name suggests, drone photography, we've already seen drones covering marriages, weddings, right? So, similarly, we'll be moving to aerial photography, wildlife photography, and so on. And after that, as Deepak was speaking about our mapping projects, we've been concentrating on mapping a lot of lands, right? And next slide. And after that, we are also into the research stage of VTOL. So, what do you think is the abbreviation of VTOL? Anyone? Okay, yeah. So, you guys are right. Vertical takeoff and landing. That is an amusing thing. It is really great to work with it. You'll get to experience it once you join in our team. And after that, we have vision-based obstacle avoidance, which we've been speaking about throughout, right? So, yeah, next slide. Yeah, now there is a brief introduction about our sponsors, and Deepak will be speaking about them.
We can't just leave out the people who gave us the money, so we have to talk.
Astria Aerospace, Logistimo, both of them are drone manufacturers and service providers. So basically, they make drone and they give it to companies like, let's say, a Tata Advanced Systems. Okay, they have like huge fields of land they want to inspect. So they call companies like Astria and Logistimo to inspect the whole piece. Okay, and Autodesk, as you know, it's a software-based SaaS company. It makes software solutions like Fusion 360. Most of you will be familiar with that. RMRC Anaconda, it specializes in injection molding. Okay, now this is a very complicated and expensive thing to work on, injection molding. Titan, this is the Tata Group Titan. Easy Composites, it's a UK-based company. As the name suggests, they are into manufacturing composites, epoxies, resins, hardeners, and that stuff. Castle is a electronic controller manufacturer. They manufacture top-class controllers for UAVs. La Quinta Incense Foods, they are a five-star hotel chain operators. They are based in the United States, and it's one of the largest hotel chains in the US. This is where we stay, by the way, in US. They give it at free prices. We just go there and stay. It's like that.
So, yeah, this is your side. Everyone can relate to it. So you're just in the team, and even before you're in the team, you want to know what do I gain from the team. So you can have this slide. Here's the next slide.
Well, being in the team, it's about working with a group of students and working towards a problem. So at the end of the day, you become good problem solvers. Okay, you'll have a lot of things to design. You have so it's the whole process you design. It's the ideologies you come up with. Okay, when you are in the team with students.
And you can have a lot of problems in the team, in the sense the technical problems. You'll know how to overcome them, and it's a good point when you know it.
Okay, how many are here in college to make money?
Okay. Raise your hands
That's it?
promptly, bro. Even I'm. Raise your hands.
Okay. Nice, that's a good one. Wait, what about rest of you guys? Hey, you won't get anything by studying. Make money.
It was just a joke. Go on.
Okay, so the point is, when you are connected to an organization, you get to interact with your alumni, your seniors, who are actually at quite a good level. Let's say 6 of our alumni, they are right now founders of various organizations in and outside India, and 5 EDICA alumni are working at ISC. That's a big number, by the way, considering it's ISC. And there are a lot of our seniors who got into Cornell's, Pennsylvania, and good institutions basically. So, if you're someone who has to apply for masters, or you want to be like a founder and get your own startup, it's a right place for all of you guys. That is the point.
What are the prerequisites that I need to get into the team? So that's what you need to learn. So going with it, you have to have some knowledge about understanding the extended Kalman filters. Kalman filters are used in autopilots. And then finite state Markov chains, it's related to probability where autonomous mission planning goes on. And one more thing is topology of real projective plane. So this is something related to geometry where you are designing and stuff of the plane and all. And then one more thing is Monte Carlo simulations and Monte Carlo methods. And the last thing is motion planning of non-holonomic robots. So that's what we need.
I know this is a lot to take in, but more than this, what's more important for us is in the next slide.
Okay, the last slide was a joke.
Yeah. So what we are expecting from you guys, it's just these: dedication, creativity, and willingness to learn, obviously.
So
Because-
if you're a person who's willing to learn anything and everything, you're the right person for the team. And if you give dedication to the team, if you're willing to learn and gain knowledge, you can come to the team. We are always welcome.
Yes, because technical knowledge can always be gained, but what's more important is obviously the dedication, right? So, by the way, let me hear from you guys. Why do you want to join a technical club? Can I get any answers?
Okay, one sec. This. Okay, good. Okay. Seems interesting. Yeah, it is. Good. First time experience. Yeah, good.
Sounds interesting.
Sounds interesting.
You know how to work in a team.
Real world experience. Real world experience in the sense to work with a team. More exposure to the technical stuff which you're going to learn in the college.
Want to join DRDO?
You want to join DRDO? Okay, it's a good place to join in.
Oh yeah, we had a DRDO pilot teaching us a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Physically tangible. Can you just explain it?
Like not other than systems or like IT, it will be the practical way.
Yeah, good thing. You have hands-on knowledge about not just your branch. You will be learning a lot about. Think of it. You are in a circuit branch. I'm in a circuit branch. If I didn't join Edita, I didn't know about a lot of airframe stuff which these guys do. I wouldn't have had any contacts with the seniors who are there in various good positions. Trust me, they can get you into their companies. It's good. And then the teamwork, and then it's a lot of fun guys out there in Edita. It's like a family being there in Edita, and then you work a lot. You stay till 8, 10, sometime late nights. You can have snacks out. So it's gonna be fun. It's not just the technical part and the knowledge part, going about the competition and all. You're gonna make new friends also.
So yeah, all the points which you guys listed, you'll obviously be getting it in Edita, right? And yeah, what I found really helpful after joining Edita was learning work culture. Because that's not something which you guys learn in classes, right? You get to experience and you get to know how to behave in the workplaces, and you get to learn how to go along with people. And I think that's the most important when you graduate, and you realize that as well. So, next slide. Okay, so now we have a small video for you guys. You'll get to know about the team just by this video. So just have a look and have fun.
the mission planner I showed you guys. IT team's components. This is a gesture control drone, as you can see. It's controlled with the gesture of that guy. He's making gestures, so he can control the drone. Guys, thanks a lot for listening to our boring lecture kind of things. Was it fun?
Yes.
Which part was fun?
Video.
The first video, okay. This is Tawfiq. He's a new recruit for the team. He edited the video. Okay. a lot. Really, thanks a lot. You can reach out to Edita by those means. Edita U is our Instagram page. You can mail into Edita, and you also have a web page specifically for Edita, and then you can scan the QR to apply for the recruitment drive. We're gonna roll out the recruitment drive in a week or so. When are you guys having your internals, first internals? How many first years and second years, by the way? First years. Okay, there are a lot of first years. Second years? When are you guys having second year? 22nd? Okay, 22nd. The first year, guys? We just started for you guys. So. Okay, it's gonna be late. That's it, no? Just scan the QR code and apply for the recruitment. We're gonna have our Q&A sessions. It just takes 5 minutes. If you have any questions, you can ask the team. Raise your hand. Yeah.
What does Edita mean?
Okay, that's an interesting question. You can answer it.
So yeah, we have a story behind it. It's an Indian word, obviously.
It's not any other country's word, it's an Indian origin word.
It's definitely not Korean or Japanese. So, yeah, so it means progress in steps, right? It's a Sanskrit word, or maybe it's a Hindi word. Right?
Sanskrit word.
Sanskrit, yeah.
It's a Sanskrit word which means progress in little steps. You gradually increase while you're going flying.
Yeah, so basically it's just that failure is not going to stop you. You get more and more failures, and that's how you improve, right? Yeah.
And one more thing, you're gonna have a lot of fun in field days. The video you saw, 50% of the video was on field. So when you're on field, you're gonna have a lot of fun. Just to see the plane which you make flying, you feel that happiness, and you're gonna have crashes also. So you have to learn from them. Any more questions?
Yeah.
What are your conditions for recruitment? Any conditions or something?
Yeah, the prerequisites, the willingness to learn, and dedication for the team.
You guys did quadcopters?
We have a quadcopter right now. Though we didn't assemble it like the Sense, we do in system integration as in autonomous navigation. It's not in the quadcopter itself. So we set up the autonomous navigation. We also have IT team working on the autonomous navigation, and then we are also thinking of shifting into multi-rotor and stuff this year or next year. So you're gonna be working on multi-rotors also, meaning quads and hexes. So we have the components. We're gonna build one this year. FPV vehicles as such, we haven't done it. It's just for hobby enthusiasts and all. And it's not. Yeah. We have a lot of mappers, we have drones and all. You can try it out on your own.
We have some questions from the YouTube live as well. Some person has asked how many are we recruiting. So we'll be taking in around 20 people, 15 to 20.
Okay, 20. 20 is a number. Right now,
Yeah, so the thing about our club is we keep it very closed. We take very less people, and that's how we function better than the most of the clubs in RIT to brag about us. So yeah.
and there are some people who are not there due to personal reasons. They'll join you and the team. Any more questions?
Yeah.
Which branch gets to work with LiDAR scanners?
It doesn't matter which branch you are from. There are many seniors who are from mechanical and then worked in navigation. So it just matters that you learn on your own and then learn newer things and gain knowledge. It just matters that you have dedication to learn it. You have interest in it, you can go with it. Mainly there are 3 teams: IT team, navigational team, and airframe team. We're going to recruiting for all the teams, and 2 new teams: business development in the Sense PR, and then and 1 more team, piloting.
We have another question from there. Yeah.
Is it okay if you have minimal knowledge?
Minimal knowledge in the sense?
Like about knowledge demonstrated right now?
Yeah, if you're having knowledge about the stuff which we are already on, you have a head start from others. So you can answer better in the interviews we're gonna conduct. Yeah. You had question? That's it? No more questions?
So there's another question. Yeah, I'll let you complete.
Yeah.
We are closing the forms on 30. You guys fill it before 30.
Okay, yeah. So we are going to close the forms on 30. So make sure you fill it before that. Coming to interviews, we are going to put up the whole timetable for each of you guys who have filled the G form. Okay, so you'll be divided into slots and you'll be allotted times. So that's when you have to come to a lab. It's just right here. It's ESB 128, the lab number. And wait, you guys want to know about what the interview and how it's going to happen, all that stuff as well? Okay. First of all, you will be questioned from what you have written in your G form. Okay. Yeah, you will be questioned from what you have written in your G forms, and based on that, we are going to build up on knowing you guys better. Okay, it's going to be technical, it's going to be non-technical as well, because we need people who can communicate properly rather than those who know stuff. Okay, it's very important to communicate properly in a team, right? And it's going to be super simple, and in a way, it's between formal and informal. So don't worry about that. It's not a big thing. If you know, you will get in.
You're gonna be sent some resources which you have to look into. Just coming to the interview, you have to be prepped in that area so that we can test how good you are at learning things pretty fast rather than others.
Yes, yes. After your interview is done, you will be given homeworks to, judge you guys, and yeah, based on that, you will decide on, what happens next. More questions?
They're in the WhatsApp group, right?
Yeah. If you're not in the WhatsApp group, please join, because that's the only place you're going to communicate properly, I guess.
So how many of you guys are already in the WhatsApp group? That's a pretty good amount. Okay, the others too, join our WhatsApp group.
The link is in the G form. You would have the picture of the QR.
Your scanned QR, right? You have filled the forms.
So yeah, at the end you'll find the WhatsApp link for the recruitment. You can communicate.
Or we'll send it in the groups also. Just make sure to join in.
Yes. Yes.
Any more questions, guys? No, right?
Okay, since some of you asked to see the entire team, let's have the entire team on stage. Come on. So you are the Meta team captain, Dashvi. She's from third year mechanical engineering. I think you're all curious about that, right? What branch you are from and generally how diverse the team is. So Nitashi, team captain, mechanical engineering. Vinayaka, fourth year. He is actually the oldest one of us here. He is from ECE department, electronic and communications. Nidhi, third year, mechanical. She works under the airframe sub-team. Nitashi in airframe sub-team. Vinayakana is in navigation sub-team. Nidhi, airframe sub-team. And then Neerav, third year, ECE department, again navigation sub-team. Anubhav, IT lead, IT sub-team. He is from third year, ISC department. Sophie, business development sub-team, second year, mechanical department. And of course, Deepak, third year, electronics and instrumentation department. He is in airplane sub-team, he is also our team pilot, and he is also someone who has his hand in every sub-team. He is very knowledgeable in everything, extremely dedicated. And, myself, I am Nihal from computer science department. From computer science department, I am in second year. And yeah, I think I should build a if you want to see obviously on our website too, the entire team is there and the pictures are also there. But some of our team members are missing too because of their own personal reasons. As you know, the situation is not great right now. So we have Kesavan in IT sub team. He's from third year computer science. We have Asutosh. He is in EC department, third year. He's in navigation sub team. We have Sagar Mehra in business development sub team.
And one more thing, depending on the situations and college norms and government norms, the interviews can be offline or online. We'll see how it goes and how comfortable you guys are with either offline or online. We'll let you know about it. And then please join the WhatsApp group. A lot of information will be passed on in the WhatsApp groups only. So see you guys soon. I think.
Yeah, so WhatsApp group is primarily for those who are applied for recruitment. So our main communication channel is going to be through that itself. Because for us it is hard to track down each and every email and each and every phone number to communicate with you guys, even though you submitted it. So the WhatsApp group will be the main thing. If the size exceeds, we will make another group and make sure we posted that too. But WhatsApp group, in the Google form, you'll find the WhatsApp group in multiple places. The link is there, so make sure you are in it if you are applying for recruitment.
And also make sure to follow our Instagram page and so you get updates about our team, right?
Yes, you can follow us on LinkedIn too. That will be beneficial. Our Instagram is there. And to communicate with us directly, you can DM us on Instagram. There's our email address, and even on our website, you can send us a message. So if you want to learn more about the club too, obviously our website has a lot of information.
Yeah, you guys can go. Thanks a lot for hearing.
Thank you.
Stay safe, bro.
Not